Welcome to the second in the series of conversations that I will have with young entrepreneurs as we look at their business experiences, their successes, their challenges, their visions, what they're passionate about, who they are as individuals. As you know, today is February 8th, but we're also in the month of February. And the month of February is associated with what? Carnival and Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I dare say love for carnival and love for love. And I have with me today, I'm hosting a conversation with two young women who are involved in the latter, love for love. They are Maria Lewis and Jiel Valdez. And both Maria and Jiel will share with us today their backgrounds and their visions for this business and how they intend to help others. The name of the company is Sizzle Island, and the name of the website is Stheart2Sizzle. And you wouldn't imagine that start is not the way in which we know it, but I will leave the creatives to talk about the business. So Maria and Jia, it's my pleasure to have you here this morning. Welcome
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
As founder of this company. Maria, tell us about yourself. What is about you?
Hi, Maxine. Well, thanks for having Jill and I today. Well, my background, first of all, is in film, the creative arts, and it's my first passion. But during the lockdown, so just to back up, as you said, I am the founder of Sizzle Island. That is a company that produces local film and television content. And then when we had the lockdown in 2020 March, I was thinking, okay, what can I do now as I can't physically do as much creative work as I would have liked to. And around that time, I was conversing with a dear friend of mine who, you know, going through the lockdown, this new experience for all of us, and we all isolated, not having this human connection. And she said, Maria, I need to connect with somebody on a romantic plane. I need to have like an online date. And I thought about it and I said, hey, that may be a good idea for me too, because I was just for like 2-3 years just working on my day job as well as on my side business, which is now my mainstay. And I decided around March, April to join a dating site, and I met some nice people there, but they didn't understand my ethos in terms of being an entrepreneur, which is very, very important to me. And I think being an entrepreneur is not just owning a business, running a business, but it is a state of mind, a way of life. Because I think one of the most important things to me is purpose. What is your purpose on this earth, in this life? And it's very important to me to know what it is God called me to do and to do that as best as I can every single day. And I met people, they were really sweet, very smart, but they didn't seem to have that same aspirational drive in terms of getting up every day with an idea, this is what I'm called to do. And they conversely, well, at the same time, they did not understand this aspect of me. And that to me is a fundamental difference. So I said, you know what, maybe I should just create a space where like-minded thinkers, and I say entrepreneurs loosely, but in terms of people who know their passion, who know what they want in this life, and to try to see if we can create a space where like-minded people can meet. And that is where Startup, well, I call it Startup, and it's spelled STHEART-UP, because initially it was for entrepreneurs, but then there are people who are in professions such as oh gosh, doctors, lawyers, of course, teachers, but they're not necessarily business owners, but that is their calling. So it's for people who have a calling and they identify this calling and they are chasing toward it and they want to meet somebody else who is also on a similar track. So that is when I created Startup. And then as we started to move beyond, you know, the lockdown phase and everything, still keeping our precautions, ministers, but but moving beyond that, I wanted I felt like the passion within me in terms of my film was lagging. So I needed to bring that back in. So I merged Sizzle Island, the website, because we had a website with the films, and Startup to Start2Sizzle, which is what we are right now. So we show videos and films, but we also have the matchmaking service. Yeah.
It's very, very interesting, Maria. You've said quite a lot there. Um, and I noticed you talked about the day job, so it means you would have transitioned from that day job to what
Yeah.
you're doing now. It tells me that you not only are nimble and agile, but you also see, you're able to see when there's an opportunity. So let me turn a little bit to JL. JL, what's your role in this venture? And
Uh,
tell us something about your background as well.
Okay, so my background is in psychology. I really do love helping people. I've always been fascinated by them and trying to help them. So my passion is people. And so that's what I do professionally. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession. And I love supporting my friends. And Maria and I go all the way back to our mothers going back. So we've known each other a really long time. And I also have limited but some experience in event management. And so a couple of years ago I would have done a speed dating event, and I did it a couple of times, and it was well received for the most part. And I think coming forward, when Maria remembered that, and she said, well, I kind of like the idea that you have, and you seem to have some personal knowledge in it, so I would like you to help me with the marketing aspect of it and support in that regard. So that's my role in terms of Stheart2Sizzle. I'm helping with ways to get the business out there and get people interested. So that's my role there. And professionally, I have a day job. When I grow up, I would like to be like Maria and transition completely to my to my business. But for now, I do have a day job, but I recently started my own counseling practice, Equilibre Counseling and Consulting Services. So that is my aim, is to hopefully fully transition to that eventually. So between that and Stheart2Sizzle, our plates are full.
I want to wish you well in your practice.
Thank
And
you.
in this joint venture with Maria. But Maria, let me
Thank
come
you.
back on to you. You gave us a background about Sizzle Island and Start to Sizzle, but what really prompted you to develop this website, this dating website? I've heard a little bit about your experience in attempting to join a dating website yourself, but what prompted you to start a dating website in Trinidad and Tobago?
Right. Well, I saw a need. I saw a need because I think I know I'm not alone, because we would have done a survey, a focus group survey, and it revealed that a lot of people want this. And what I've also noticed is that after a certain age group as well, there was this definite desire to find their like-minded match. So with that knowledge in hand, I decided, hey, why not create this space? Because I'm not the only person who wants this. And there are a lot of people out there who are looking for longer lasting commitments with somebody who takes life seriously in terms of their passion and is chasing after it. So I wanted to create this space for not just myself and Jill, but also for the many others out there in Trinidad and Tobago. And it's open up to the world as well. We have a couple in England and in Canada as well. So, and we're trying to branch out as well. But I see the need definitely in Trinidad and Tobago. So that's why we created this space.
So who are you targeting specifically in Trinidad and Tobago? What's the demographic?
Demographic, well, the youngest we're looking at is around 27, but the main catchment are people in their 30s and early 40s, early to mid 40s, that catchment area. Professionals in their own rights, and that encompasses not only the entrepreneurs, but also people, as I mentioned before, who have day jobs, but that is what they want. That is what they always dreamt of becoming. And I think more than that, also people with the belief that, okay, yes, I had fun before, but right now I'm ready for something a bit more serious. And if that is your mindset, and you're ready for somebody who's not gonna play, nobody wants to be played around, and I think people have gone through that phase. So it's a site for people who are now looking for something a bit more serious, but with someone they could grow in a total way with. So in terms of, somebody who not only in terms of having this a similar, thinking when it comes to their work, but also in terms of life and their life beliefs. So it's that kind of side. So it's an older millennial, um, and but who's also aspirational still and excited about life. Yeah, and I think one of the things we also look at conversations, because people, one of the things that cropped up, it's very a challenge on dating sites to get healthy conversations. You get a lot of hi babe, sup hun.
Oh gosh, what you doing?
No, no, no. We're looking for something a bit more in depth now. That for me personally, that ship has long sailed. Give me a good, healthy conversation that is funny, but it's also intellectual. We could talk about current affairs, we could talk about different things, but definitely nothing one note, one dimensional. Just bring some depth. That is the quality and the caliber we're looking at. Yeah.
So what has been the response so far to your website?
So far, it has been, what I'm very thankful for, Maxine, is that we have minimal marketing resources, but with what we have been able to do, we have gotten people jumping on board. So with, like, we started in earnest in November. And so far we have over 100 people on the site within Trinidad and Tobago mostly. So I see that there's definitely a need for it. And I'm really proud. And as we grow and we're able to invest a bit more in marketing, I know that is going to keep growing, because not everybody wants a quick, the quickie kind of hookup-y kind of thing. There are many people who are looking for something more substantial, and it is evident in the fact that with just bare bones marketing efforts in terms of what we can manage right now financially, the response has been very promising. So I believe that as we just keep trudging along, we're going to keep growing, growing, growing. And yeah, because there's a need. I believe so. Yeah.
So you mentioned something there that is very important. You talked about what your business can manage right now financially.
Yeah.
So it leads me to ask you, what are some of the challenges that the business itself has been experiencing since you started?
The challenges from a financial perspective or in general?
In general, but you can also talk about financial as well. Whatever are the challenges that Sizzle
Right.
Island is experiencing?
Well, I will leave a part of that question to Jill, because she would have experienced it also with speed dating in terms of getting the guys on board. So Jill, you could probably chat on that. But
Yes.
one of the one of the challenges that I've experienced, Maxine, is definitely marketing, because it's very competitive. Marketing world is very competitive. And I would have been trying for years with Sizzle Island, because that's in terms of is a film and video production company. But I also I would have developed a website trying to promote my films as well as the films of people up and coming filmmakers from around the world, and getting your business noticed by the correct market has been, I think, a perennial issue for me, a challenge. So it's not that I'm saying no to marketing at all. I didn't say no, but I'm looking at creative ways of getting the sites out there, and also holding back on throwing the money into avenues where I may not get the right return, but trying to be very strategic in terms of, okay, get granular. Where are my people living, and how best to get the message out to them? And that is the exciting challenge, I think. And I'm sitting constantly and in dialogue with JL, trying to figure out the ways. Have I cracked it yet? No, not fully, but I know that first of all, consistency is important, because I can't start and stop and expect to grow anything, but also to keep researching and keep figuring out new and creative ways. But in general, to answer your question, the marketing has always been a challenge, to get the correct market to notice the site and to buy into the site. Yeah, so that is the ongoing challenge. But we have gotten a very resounding response from women, predominantly women, but men, Jill?
Yes.
I was
So
just about, before Joel speaks, I was just about to ask that question, whether there's a cultural gap or cultural limitation with respect to men, right, and their approaches to dating sites. But let me hear what JL has to say.
Oh, for sure. There definitely is a cultural attitude in terms of not just Trinidad and Tobago, I think probably the wider Caribbean, but especially in Trinidad, since that's where we're based, you do see a high level of resistance from men to buy in completely. And I think it's because they're thinking, well, not I think, I've actually heard men say, well, I don't want to look desperate. I don't want to have to necessarily go on a site to meet somebody when I could just, be out there in a bar or whatever, meet someone. I don't want to have to pay. And I think a lot of it is about the ego. I'm feeling like there's something attacking their ego if they were to sign up for a site like this. What does it say about me as a man and my masculinity? I can't get a woman. I have to come on a site. So there definitely has to be a shift in terms of how people see those things, which is, it's funny because they'll go on Tinder and some of those other sites, which as Maria stated, are more for the, the quick fixes, the hookups, nothing serious. But anything of worth, they're kind of, they always shy away from it. So if, and it was the same situation I had with the speed dating. So if we had to do this based on women's interest alone, we would be very rich
Yes.
right now. But because we have to depend on the men and we're still trying to figure out exactly how do we get that particular level of buy-in from them, because the type of men that we are looking for, when we do our own market research, a lot of them are taken, so they can't really give us feedback in terms of if they were single, what would appeal to them. So it is very interesting going along the journey, trying to figure it out. That is definitely, I think, one of the biggest challenges. COVID, I think, and the fact that the socializing options are limited, I think has been in a strange way a bonus for us, because then now have more people actually turning towards this to say, well, this is probably a good way. I can't go to a fete and randomly bounce up somebody. Everything is virtual. So why not give this a shot? Yeah. So it's a challenge, but I think it's one that could work for us long term.
So are you saying that, I know I heard you say that you haven't really figured out yet what to do to bring men on board. And I wish you luck with that, because I'm not quite sure whether the men wouldn't want to come kicking and screaming, right? Because the reality of the situation is that we have much more women than men.
Correct.
So I suppose, the selection process is enabled by that. And I don't want to say that some men are cheap.
But that's a fact.
Let me don't to go there, but perhaps that may be another reason as well. When you put all of those things together, they don't necessarily see the need to spend when there's availability wherever they go. But let me ask about the upsides. I don't want to just focus on the downside, the inability to get the men especially on board. What about the upsides? I am quite sure that there have been upsides with this business venture. What are some of them?
I think just even in terms of trying to get use our limited resources, as Maria said, to market, we've been able to have some really interesting conversations about society and men-woman relationships and that kind of thing, having a really interesting discourse within the Caribbean context in our efforts to market startup. So it really has widened, I think, our opportunities to get people to buy in and also to have the type of discourse that we would want people who sign up to startup to have. So it's a really good sample of what they could possibly get if they sign up. So I think just being able to, have different interviews, because we've done radio, we've done a couple podcasts. So I think just having our name out there and being able to expand our possible clientele has been really good for us.
So let's look at your existing membership. What are some of the issues or some of the challenges that they are having in finding a soulmate? And I want to ask the second part of that question. Would you say that the attraction of deep conversation and, removing superficiality and dealing with really intense topics and that kind of thing is something that is appealing to men or something that, men shy away from. It is always, you always hear jokes about men not wanting to talk. They want to just lie with their partners or watch sports, etc. And you don't really want to get into deep kind of conversation. When you say that factors into some of the challenges that the current membership have in finding a partner.
Maria, I'll start and you could jump in.
Sure.
Yeah. I definitely think so. For a large number of men, not having the safety of whatever you want to call it, the environment, the music, the alcohol, those things tend to give us a level of confidence that we may not originally have. And I think for a lot of them, it's easy to rely on those things. And when you have to kind of just come as you are, that can be intimidating. So it's intimidating for some women too, but it definitely is easier, I think, for us to be able to get into that feeling of having that conversation, and also because it's what we want. And I think Maria and I could definitely relate to that, because we look for it. We yearn for it in looking for relationships and searching for that partner, that what we would consider the ideal partner for ourselves. So we think that a lot of people, especially men, if they are ready to sign up for something like this, then you're ready to have these types of conversations. So the startup man, so to speak, is somebody that will not shy away from something like this, because you're on a particular path looking for that particular companion who you could have something long term with, somebody that you want to build a life with. So if you want to do that, then of course you have to be willing to talk to that person. So if somebody is not quite comfortable having conversations, just a kind of one-on-one, then that's something that you may have to look at before possibly wanting to sign up. And so we realize why that would feed into the challenge. So it kind of forces you to think, am I really ready for this? And sometimes the answer for that is no. And when you realize that, then you kind of fade away, or you shy away from signing up. So I definitely think that it can be an advantage and it can be a disadvantage. But because we're not, even though Maria would have said matchmaking, we don't really do matchmaking to that extent. So that there are quite a lot of controllers or controlling variables that we can't calculate for, we definitely can't control. So we try to do the best we can by describing exactly what we're looking for in terms of people who would apply. I mean, of course, you'll find some people might fall through the cracks, but because the system that Maria has designed is so extensive, if you can't even go through the initial process to set up your profile, then we know you're not ready for this. So really, everything just kind of feed one into the other. So Maria, you'd probably want to follow up with that.
No, Jill, you're very right. It's true. And I think Maxine is catching them at this stage of life that they are. And women, for the most part, they say that we mature faster. And I think this site is proof of that. Because a lot of the women on this site, they are professional, educated, and ready to find their lifelong partner.
Yeah.
And a lot of the men that we polled who are not on this site, around the same age group, but not yet ready to settle down for various reasons. Either that they don't think that emotionally they're ready. And then I've spoken to people who say that they are emotionally ready, but they're not financially ready. And they also have this obligation, they feel as men, to provide, and they're not there yet, so they don't think they could make a step like this. And so we have that disconnect, I think, in this site. And so Jill right, you would find men on this site who are up to that level of conversation and up to that level of interaction, but they are few. They are few because those men are ready. And so, but in terms of the larger scale, we haven't yet tapped into the resource where those are yet. They will hopefully be there, but they aren't ready. Most of them are ready right now.
You say that the men are intimidated by the fact that these are women who are earning their own income and therefore feel less of a man, or would feel less of a man if they attempt to approach a woman who seems to be better off financially than they are. Would you say that that is a limiting factor to get men to approach women? And also, I'd like to ask whether in amongst the female membership, would you say that there's anyone or any set of women who are pretty close to, let's say, linking up with the soulmate?
Well, the second part, I'm not too sure of right now, but in terms of hopefully in the next few months, we'll be able to give some hopeful success stories. So I'll look out for that. But I think so. To what extent, I can't say, but I do think that there is that disconnect between, you know, guys understanding what a man is supposed to be and what they're supposed to bring to the table, and women bringing it to the table. The other day, as JL mentioned, we had a great podcast interview where, you know, they were asking about this rise in female independence, so to speak. And JL said it very beautifully, and I completely identify. She drew reference to our grandmother's time when they were not income earners and they were dependent on their husbands for money. And I grew up with my mom and my aunt saying my grandma can buy anything, not even clothes, without my grandpa giving her the money. And a lot of men held that power because money is the power over them. And my grandmother spoke to her girls. She had 7 children, 4 girls, and she said she drilled it into the girls: get educated. So you don't have to depend on a guy if you want to go anywhere, buy anything. You don't have to. And all my aunts are educated, my mother as well. They all have solid jobs, and that has passed on now to our generation. And that is further emphasized. Jail went to Holy Faith Convent, Penal. I went to St. Joseph Convent, San Fernando. And our teachers and principals would have drilled that into us. So we got in that information in our heads in school, at home, and we just power through. I remember when we were in convent and we had to move chairs, a set, and I'm talking about hundreds of chairs. Our teacher would be like, you don't need a guy to help him pick up the chairs and move it, and, you know, and we were like, they're busy. And it was always in my head, if there's anything that I need to do, try to get it done, or try to find something, but you have to move and don't wait around, because you have the tools to do so. And then we meet the guys.
And, but you know, though, it seems as if societally, whilst women have been taught to move away from that dependency syndrome, I'm not quite sure whether the men have accepted the challenge that has been placed on women to come out of that dependency, to be self-sufficient. And I think men still equate providing for women and for their families, etc., as part of their masculinity. So that it appears as if we have a gap there, a dynamic, a social gap. I'm not quite sure what the answer to this is, but perhaps your dating site may be assisting in moving men forward towards the reality or the acceptance that we are not in the 1930s and 40s when, you know, women were so heavily dependent on men. In fact, generational wealth, I dare say, would be better served if both parties are coming to the table with goodies, as distinct from one side. So, you know, I just want to put that in the pot as well for consideration. What are your visions, though, for 2021?
Well, first and foremost, trying to get more men onto the sites. And it's not just in terms of, because I don't want to lose hold of the, you know, the fundamentals of the sites, because that's why people have signed up to begin with. They're looking for longer lasting connections. They're looking for higher level conversations and interactions. And they're looking for people who are driven and purpose driven, I should say. So it's to find the right kind of people with you know, people who are there in that stage of life. They may be there, but not right now. You know, so maybe whenever they are ready, we will have this site. But for those who are ready to get the word out to them that, hey, we are available. You could come here to try to see if you could find, God willing, your potential match. And as mentioned before, I've been trying to do more, continue with my film creation and video production. So I'm so happy. I'm working on a socially distanced film right now, which will be shown on the site, and also more interviews to try to address the burden issues that our membership may be facing. So that's the goal, to continue to grow the site, get the name out there, and try to find ways to help the existing membership and the future membership of the site.
Are there any Valentine's Day messages that you would like to send out to your members and prospective members?
Yes, Valentine's Day message. Don't despair, because I think a lot of our membership, they are in their 30s, and after a while, Valentine's Day could be doom and gloom. Many people want to skip over it.
Very depressing.
Very depressing. Yes. But I think let's have hope, because one of my dear friends said it very well. She said, sometimes that we order steak, meaning we want the career of our dreams. We want the guy of our dreams. So we're asking God for a lot that will take longer to cook in the kitchen. And so we for your steak to be prepared, and it will come eventually. Just be hopeful and continue to put yourself out there. I think it's easy for people to say, oh no, it's not gonna happen, and you won't know unless you try. And think, step out of your comfort zone and give it a shot. But don't give up. Yeah, that's my message, Jay.
Yeah, I
do
think
you
that's,
have any Valentine's Day messages that you'd like to send out?
yes, much along the same lines, just be hopeful. As long as there's life, there's hope.
Yeah.
And it can be really despairing at times. But what is for you is for you. But we want to help move the process along. So just be active, continue working on yourself and doing things that will bring you closer to what you'd like to achieve, like joining startup. So yeah, just continue to work and to be hopeful.
Okay. Well, we've come to the end of our conversation today, and Maria and JL, I want to really, really thank you so much for the insights that you have given us, not just about yourselves as individuals, but also the company, Sizzle Island, and the website, Stheart2Sizzle. I want to wish you all the best and all success in your future endeavors. And let me just round off by again identifying myself. I am Maxine King, better known as, or also known as SavvyFinanceLady. And we're in the month of February, and I just want to say to you guys out there, you may not have made resolutions for 2021, but it's not too late to still do. And I want to urge you in your resolve to seek out financial education. And you can certainly get that kind of information on my page. So ciao, God bless.